my brother was doing economics, and he would argue with his professors because he'd be like, what's the underlying principle here? Like the thing you taught us last week and the thing you just taught us, those things can't happen in the same universe. Those things are fucking contradictory, man. You can't say that at a micro scale that you can't have your cake and eat it too, and then on a macro scale, but you can have your cake and eat it too. Like, I mean, that's literally what that's Keynesianism is just so full of, like, one after the other, just like ridiculous contradictions, and then models that are like, this industry only works this way, and it's like, no, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Like, physics doesn't change when it gets bigger. That's why we literally, like, we map out like what hurricanes are going to do in like little dishes and stuff, because the pressures are all the same. Like, physics is the same. When it gets bigger, it's just bigger. Like, and it just was just driving us crazy. And he would come home, and then we would debate about it, and he'd be like, this is what they taught me today. And then we would go on this rabbit hole digging into economic history, and like, we went down the MMT theory. In fact, modern monetary theory was far more intuitive originally, than Keynesianism, because it actually just takes it to its logical conclusion, which is far more consistent. It's still wrong, but it's at least far more logically consistent. But eventually we landed on Austrian economics. And at the same time, I was kind of going back into the tech route and doing my own little film thing, just to get by. But I was suddenly realizing that peer-to-peer networks like BitTorrent and these things had actually like fundamentally changed the world. And the stuff that I had just grown up thinking was like a fun toy, like I could download a movie, or I can get free music, like it was just games and things for me. It was just toys for me. Suddenly I was seeing it from a bigger picture. Suddenly I was seeing the story of BitTorrent and the story of the internet. And I read the Julian Assange, steal this book. No, that's not the one. This Machine Kills Secrets. I started reading a bunch of the history of the cypherpunks and stuff. I don't even know how I got connected to it and all of that. But I mean, I guess it's BitTorrent, right? That was kind of the part of the cypherpunk legacy too. But that was fascinating to me. And suddenly the story of the internet was the story of like, this shit's going to change everything, and in a much, much bigger way. And it tied in a lot to how Austrian economics saw the world. Like the same story was there. The same underlying pattern was in both of those places. And then it kind of started to hit money, and money kind of became this common theme in a lot of these different things. And, cypherpunks were trying to create this stateless money. And in Austrian economics, it's clear that like monetary goods need to be like a chosen market good. It needs to be independent. And so like we're going down that rabbit hole. And it was literally at this like confluence of that and like our libertarian journey and everything that Bitcoin landed in our lap. And Bitcoin was like this story of all the stories. It was everything that I was fascinated in at the time, both myself and my brother. And it was just like that first thing that like just really cemented in my mind that the story of money is the story of society. Like, what happens to the money? Like, money is a prerequisite. Money is the glue that holds, like, it's the intercellular communication for the organism that is society. And without it, it literally breaks down. The organism just turns into a big pile of cellular mush, and it becomes disparate and it falls apart and everything degrades. But if you have a strong money, you have an organism, you have a society. And when I realized that story, I was locked in, because it's like, this is the biggest story. Like this is the biggest one that all the other stories depend on. This is the root. And that was just what trapped me. And so I would say, if I had to answer who is Guy Swann, I have always been trying to chase. I've always chased the story that enlightened more things Like, what was the story that explained more about what I saw in the world than anything else? And I've just always been fascinated with story, and Bitcoin is the most fascinating of those stories, in my opinion.